Scott, what was your last name again?
Harrelson.
Harrelson.
Don Harrelson.
Scott Harrelson. Well, yeah, got it. That's a good little name recognition.
I'm ready.
Great.
Can you talk a little bit?
How's that? Sound check. How's it sound? Sound okay? Good enough?
We'll have you say and spell your
I'm not
first and
sure.
last
I
name.
mean, it's tall.
No, that's fine.
It's
That's
okay.
fine.
It's good. Stay the other way. So, my name is Keith Welch, Keith. Last name Welch, Welch, Battalion Chief with Chandler Fire Department.
What's going on today?
Okay, so today I want to share some information with you. We've had we were called to the scene of the 905 South 54th Street on Thursday at approximately 11 a.m. For fire alarm indication. Once we got on scene there with our crew, we did notice some smoke coming from the building, light smoke coming from the building. And for us, it's been known to be a battery storage facility. We've done a tour there, and we understand what potential hazards are inside. So at that point, we took a defensive strategy, and for us means we're not going to open the door and go in with our personnel to take a look, because we know some of the potential hazards of the battery degradation and the off-gassing and the different hazards that can cause. And so from that point, we were able to start to contact business owners, get experts involved, and over the last few days, we've been able to develop a plan which has brought us here tonight. And that plan tonight was to ventilate the structure. The door has been closed. We've had a fire suppression system going for 4 days that has kept the atmosphere cool in there, which is what we want to do. But it has not put out the fire that the battery still keeps smoldering. And so tonight I can report that we used a robot to open a door to the facility, and we want to make sure we ventilate the structure. And at this time our plan is to leave that door open for another 12 hours to let the structure air out as much as it can. And what we're looking at airing out is going to be some gases that build up in there, like some hydrogen gases, hydrogen sulfides, CO, different things of that nature that are very flammable and very dangerous for us. Tomorrow, our plan would be then to go in and utilize robots again to monitor the atmosphere, to check temperature, any gases in there, and get eyes on with video to see exactly what we're dealing with. And then we'll be working closely with SRP and AES to come up with the plan to mitigate this hazard.
Is the area going to be blocked off through the evening?
So the closure for us tonight was going to be 2 hours. And I think we are still on track for that. So the area will be opened up, for my indications, at 8 p.m. We closed it at 6. It'll be open up at 8 p.m.
And when can business owners return?
Business owners can return after 8 p.m. And just so you know, we did not make this, we highly recommended this evacuation. It was not a mandatory evacuation.
Specifically, can you talk about how crews train for an event like this? It seems pretty unique.
Yeah, it is a unique event. It's a unique event, one regionally, but two across the country. As these storage facilities come online, they learn from previous builds, previous systems, and they get better as they go. This facility's been in the city of Chandler since approximately 2018, and it provides basically energy goes in during off peaks, right? Whether that's SRP producing energy there, sends energy in, stores it for on-peak usage, so that it helps all the utility customers surrounding this area in on-peak usage. So that's what the facility does for that location. And sorry, go ahead and repeat
So
the question.
it's a pretty unique way to go about mitigating the situation. Can you describe that?
Correct. So we have a nice regional approach to training for different battery storage facilities. A couple years ago, we did have an incident in one of our neighboring communities across town in Peoria, and we learned a lot from that incident. And this is one of the reasons why we had such an approach to this is really, safety to one, the community, but safety to us, to not open it up, go slow, and make sure we have a plan once we do.
I was going to ask you about that. You just mentioned it. I believe there was a fatality in that situation.
There was not a fatality. There were firefighters injured.
Seriously injured.
Serious? Yeah, they had
chemical burns and things like that, right?
Correct. There was a lot of energy stored in that building, and there were firefighters that were injured in that. And one of the things that we, again, do a great job regionally is train with each other, share information, and obviously learn from those types of incidents.
When you guys return tomorrow...
You said there were some hazardous gases like hydrogen sulfide. Was that the reason for the evacuation, that you were going to ventilate that area, you're going to let the gases out, so you recommend people leave so they don't inhale?
That is correct. I mean, we call that a potential hazard. And so that was the reason for the evacuation, is we wanted people outside of a certain area so that they were not, in any harm's way for chemical release.
When people return tomorrow, when they return at 8 p.m. Tonight, for when you guys go back tomorrow, will there be any other closures or anything like that people should be aware of when you go back?
That's unknown at this time, whether they're going to have another type of evacuation or closure. That will be determined tomorrow morning. And I think the last word I heard is we anticipate having a briefing at approximately 9 a.m. tomorrow morning for us to develop our next steps.
And releasing these gases, is it going to affect the areas around here? I mean, if it's affecting firefighters that are fully geared up,
sure.
These gases, are they going to affect the community around here, or what?
So the way in which the gas dissipates, we anticipate, one of the reasons why we did it during the day and more heat of the day is it dissipates up instead of down and out when it's a cooler temperature, at nighttime. But we have monitoring all around that building, and we do not anticipate any gases past any hazardous level to really make it 10 yards out of the building. But we do this just in case. What if there's a wind shift? What if there's some sudden change that we can't control? So we do this really as precaution for the safety of the citizens.
I think you mentioned the smoke was first reported on Monday. Now it's Thursday. Talk about what happened in those couple of days in between, and explain the waiting game for this.
Yeah, well, we were lucky in that the fire protection system was really keeping things in check. We were not seeing a growing production of smoke and an increase, which would, alert us that something else is going on, that it's growing quicker than outpacing what the fire protection system is. And so it really allowed us time to come up with the best plan we could to get to this point today to mitigate the hazard.
When we got there, we saw a lot of water coming out of the building. Is that from the sprinklers overhead, the fire mitigation sprinklers, and how does that impact the batteries?
If we looked at the amount of water, I mean, it's over 750,000 gallons of water that's flowed out of that system. And we are working with retention around there and different to make sure we keep it on site. It's another one of our priorities. But it does not affect the batteries in that it doesn't react with the batteries. It keeps the atmosphere cool and kind of keeps that fire in check.
I am uneducated on this topic. Can you explain the dangers of those first responders first opening up those doors, or the robotics opening the doors, because it could be a potentially dangerous situation? You had a whole area blocked off. Can you walk me through what those first responders are going through opening that door?
Well, I think we learned some from the incident that happened in Peoria, and we spoke specifically with firefighters that were on that scene. And so that was one of the things that crossed our mind the second that we got on scene. So we never had a thought of going in that building again. It was going to be a defensive approach. We did not have anybody that was in the building that was a civilian, or anybody around the building that we needed to really risk a lot to get in and save, luckily.
Will the highway still be closed? When will that reopen?
That's going to reopen at 8.
Okay.
Do you know what materials are actually burning? Is this like lithium ion?
So they are lithium-ion batteries, which are going to be a mix of metals, specific metals. I don't have a list for you, and plastics.
Anything we should be asking you that we might be leaving out?
No, it's pretty good. I think you guys asked some good questions, and hopefully I was able to give you some good answers. I did want to advise you that we do have an SRP representative here, as well as an AES representative, if you would like to ask them questions.
Yeah, Mr. SRP, can you step up, please?
I'll switch.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
A hard act to follow here.
We'll have you first say and spell your first and last name.
Yeah, it's Scott, S-C-O-T-T, Harrelson, H-A-R-E-L, excuse me, S-O-N, H-A-R-E-L-S-O-N, spokesman for us.
Do you have any idea what the value of the battery storage is in this building? Because these things are certainly not cheap, and they can also put you behind, obviously, peak time as we approach, the hot time of the year out there.
I can't speak to the actual value of the batteries. SRP, we don't own the batteries, we don't own the facility or operate it. We have a contract to purchase the energy storage from AES. They work with Fluence to operate that facility. But yes, it's a 10 megawatt battery storage facility, which is quite a bit. It's pretty large, and it was one of SRP's first forays into battery storage, and we're very excited about battery storage, the potential for it, and we continue to be. That facility was obviously taken offline when this fire occurred. We've lost access to that energy, but temperatures are relatively mild. Our customer demand is relatively low, so it's really not an impact to us from a system perspective. I think our concern has been more the Knox substation, where this dormant battery storage facility is located, has transformers and other equipment that we want to protect. There are transmission lines you can see that run parallel or across or around that facility, and we've taken steps, contingency plans to potentially de-energize those lines in the event that there was a fire and there was smoke, or more smoke than there is now, obviously. So that's really our situation now, is kind of monitoring our equipment that's adjacent to the storage facility.
You mentioned mild temperatures, but we are looking at possibly our first 100-degree day of the year early next week, and maybe that's still mild because it's Arizona. With having to take the power out of some of those lines, is there any impact, or will there be any impact on customer service in this area?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, because those transmission lines are critical, and some of them, there's a 500,000 volt line, there's several 230,000 volt lines, and they are really the backbone of our system, moving power around. So when we look at the potential for de-energizing those lines, that's a big step, but we have again contingency plans in place where we can move power from other directions and make purchases potentially from the market if we feel like we're not going to be able to move power from one part of our system to another to serve our customers. So right now, we really don't anticipate any impact to SRP customers because of this situation.
I know when it comes to like renewable energy or sustainability, being able to maintain or store the power that you have created is kind of the multi-billion-dollar question out there right now. This is the best system we have, but this does happen on occasion, whether it's a Chevy Volt that catches fire in somebody's garage with a lithium-ion battery fire, or a giant building full of batteries. Where is the industry as far as finding a solution that's safe storage? Because this is somewhat safe, but comes with risks, obviously.
Yeah, I think anytime you're producing or generating electricity, there's an inherent risk, whether it's fossil fuel or battery storage or even solar energy to a much smaller degree. But we certainly understand the risk, but this would appear to be an anomaly. There's quite a bit of battery storage now across the country and globally, in fact. And so I'm sure that the battery makers and the owners of this facility are going to do a deep analysis to determine what happened, its root cause, and SRP will, of course, follow that study and do whatever we can to mitigate this kind of circumstance from happening in the future.
When you announced this facility in 2018, you said it would primarily be used for peak usage, peak hour usage. Has that been the case? Is that actually how you've used it?
That is how we would operate this facility and have operated it in the past. This is what we would call a standalone battery storage facility. It's being powered directly from the grid, so we can use energy overnight to power it up, energy that's abundant and less expensive to our customers, and then we can dispatch that energy the following day in between, say, 4 and 7 o'clock when our peak demand is at its highest. So it can be very economical, it can be very useful in reducing our carbon footprint. And of course, there's battery storage that we have and increasingly have that is connected to solar. So you can generate power via solar cells and charge those batteries again. So when the sun goes down, now you've got power energy stored, and that's how we use them as well.
Once the chief has put this out, what do you think the timetable is to get your station back up and running?
Yeah, I really can't speak to that. The owners of the facility are obviously going to be hopeful that it's really difficult to say how much damage there is in there. There's been a lot of water, there's a lot of batteries in there, and they'll just have to make that assessment once we get access and visibility to what's occurring inside that building.
Do we know how many batteries are in there, did you say?
There's a lot. And again, you might want to ask AES, but there are rows of modules, and each one of those modules contains many batteries. So there's hundreds, if not thousands, of batteries in there.
What are they used for again, did you say?
They're used. We use energy off the grid overnight when we have excess energy. They charge those batteries overnight, and then those batteries dispatch that energy the next day when our resources are really tight and when demand is very high and energy is very expensive. So it's a good way to offset and add to our peak resources. Any other questions?
We're good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you guys. Are you
This is a representative from the.
No, that's fine.
How are you? Yes, good evening. My name is Mark Miller, M-A-R-K-M-I-L-L-E-R. I represent AES. I'd like to just talk about a quick statement in respect of the outstanding work that the Chandler Fire Department and Extended Services that are responding to this from multiple towns, multiple capabilities between the police, the hazmat, medical facilities, all. We are so appreciative of the work that is going on right now. We've heard extensive information, not only from the fire department, how they're managing the situation right now, but also from SRP about the functionality and how the battery energy storage system fits into their system. And I think it's a little early to speculate to cause, because I know that's the logical question that people will have. But what I would ask at this point is that we kind of take measure. Our focus right now is safe and efficient management of the situation at hand. That's what's most important from a safety perspective. From an AES belief perspective, that is at the top of the list, and that's what we're focused on, working hand in hand, not only with emergency response, with SRP, but the manufacturer, the suppliers of all the battery components, to come up with a very logical and practical root cause analysis process, which will be emerging over the coming weeks as the situation gets into a more controlled fashion.
Wasn't AES involved in the previous fire that injured firefighters?
No, AES was not. It was not an AES project previously. I think there is commonality in the provider of the parts, the manufacturer. But as far as an AES project, no, we were not related to that project.
Who made the batteries?
These batteries are from LG Chem. And to answer the question that was raised before, there are 3,248 batteries in this, the size of this project, which is 10 megawatts.
What does AES stand for?
AES.
Okay.
Origins is the AES Corporation.
I was going to guess Arizona Energy Services or something.
No,
This is a private company, not a public utility. Or
no, it's a private company. We are a leading the way in renewable and clean energy solutions for the grid and for the market.
How big are these 3,248 batteries?
I mean, physically.
Yeah, like, are they brick size? They're cell phone batteries? Are they the size of that white, transformer back there?
Yeah. So the building is, and this is rough estimates because obviously the building looks like it's about 6,000 square feet. So I don't know how you put that. So that's like maybe 20 by my math, but whatever that is. There are multiple racks where the batteries are stacked up
Yes.
and stored, and in a series of what we call cores that extend the length of the building.
So they look like a car battery?
No, they're much different shape. Same technology, same concept as a lithium-ion battery in a car, but different shapes depending on the needs of the industry. Because lithium-ion batteries are used in a host of products, everyday products that we have every day.
Is the facility usually empty? No employees there?
So it is typically unmanned, with the exception of periodic maintenance. It is remotely controlled. The scheduling of the battery is managed by SRP, and then we, as the operator and owner, manage the battery operation in accordance with that. There is periodic people in the building to do routine maintenance, either on the battery systems or the balancing plant systems.
These are LG batteries. Hasn't they come under fire recently on airplanes for, being possibly a hazard? Are you frustrated? Are you wanting to take any legal measures?
I'm not aware of any other incidents. We're specifically focused on the technology that is provided for us. And I can't comment on other technologies or providers and problems that they've had.
It appears something went right here, and then you were notified immediately by automation, I'm guessing, that there was a problem.
So what I can say, right, is all the systems functioned appropriately, all the safety systems. And as Keith mentioned before, they've all operated in accordance with their design to achieve the maximum cooling and prevention of escalation of any situation within the battery itself. The comment before about the water coming out is that system. That is what is maintaining an effective cooling and control within the building, best we know right now.
How often does somebody go in there for maintenance or whatever procedures they do?
I'd have to look it up. I'm not sure. I mean, there is a frequency as determined by various maintenance schedules and operational needs.
No chance for foul play on that note? Nobody came in there and sabotaged the thing? You said you can't speculate on cause yet, but just curious.
I'm not aware of anything related to anything other than potentially a technical problem, which is, put us in this situation. But it's way too early to speculate on it. There will be extensive work to understand what happened. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we have a 09 meeting tomorrow.
Just you guys.
Come away with the communication group. We'll update you. Probably send it. Now that we've started